welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today we are going to visit King Solomon's mines, one of the richest men in the entire Bible, and discover other hidden archaeological treasures here in Timna, in the middle of the Negev desert. So if you're ready, let's get started. We are in the Negev desert, literally in the middle of nowhere. The nearest city from here is Eilat, 18.64 miles away. And I want to start today's tour by showing you the incredible columns of King Solomon. Can you see this gigantic formation behind me? But the surprising thing is that they were not made by the hand of man, but they were caused by erosion. But hidden among them are some secrets. A hint of what we're going to see is this sign here. You can see that it's written here in Egyptian hieroglyphs. What Egypt has to do with this place, we're about to find out. Let's go! It's impressive to see the formations here. It feels like we're on the moon or another planet. The formations here are so different that they catch the eye. And right here next to me are King Solomon's columns. They really take your breath away. I understand why people in ancient times looked at this and associated this place with King Solomon. Let's go. The Egyptians were the first to discover the potential of this place and started a large copper extraction here. And it makes sense that they got here because we are at the southernmost point of Israel, 21.7 miles from the modern border between Israel and Egypt. And of course, the Egyptians left their mark and their pagan religion here in Timna. Right next to me is an Egyptian pagan temple. Look how amazing this place is. This temple was built by Pharaoh Seti then 3,300 years ago, which means over 300 years before Solomon came to power. This temple was built in honor of the Egyptian goddess Hathor, who was, among other things, the goddess of mines. And looking closely at the temple, we can see a flat area where there was a statue, probably of Hathor herself. This temple is 49 feet long and was used by Pharaoh after Pharaoh, so we also have drawings of Pharaoh Ramses III up here. But sometime later, in the year 1150 before Christ, the Egyptians will abandon this entire region, the mines and the temple. And another people will arrive here in place. These people are the Midianites, and this temple becomes from an Egyptian temple to a Midianite temple. And why is this so important? Because we found here in the excavations a lot of Midianite images, as you are seeing on the screen. The most impressive you are seeing now, which is a copper snake, in Hebrew, Nahash Nechosher. This reminds us of a biblical story, the story of Moses, where this snake will be used to help heal the people of Israel. But after all, what was this snake, this serpent, made of? We know it was made of metal. In the original Hebrew, it is written Nahash Nechoshet, which literally means the copper snake. and that's why I always refer to it as copper. I know that often in the translations into Portuguese it appears as a bronze snake or bronze serpent. Bronze is a metal alloy that also contains copper, but in the original it is always written as copper snake, copper serpent. But it's strange, what is a copper snake doing in a Midianite temple? What is Moses' relationship with the Midianites? Everything, because Moses' own father-in-law Jethro, he was a priest of a Midianite temple. And so it is not surprising that the two peoples have relations and some similar things. And that's why the most impressive thing, in my opinion, to be able to see this copper snake that was found exactly here, is to see how probably the snake that Moses made looked like, because it was destroyed centuries later by King Hezekiah. Why? Because the people unfortunately began to worship the snake, as it is written in this verse. Hezekiah did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father David had done. He removed the high places, broke the pillars, and cut down the Asherah pole. He also broke into pieces the bronze snake that Moses had made. The children of Israel called this snake Nehushtan, and until that day they burned incense to it. And see that in this passage that we just heard, it also says that Hezekiah breaks the pillars, because the pillars were also used for worship among the people of Israel, the Midianites, and other peoples here in the region, like the Canaanites. And that's why now you won't be surprised that behind me in this temple, pillars were also found. See how the biblical history fits together with archaeology and what we find here. But we have a lot more to see today. And look how amazing we are traveling here through the desert, and there is a huge group of Yaelim passing by. This animal in Hebrew is called Yael. It's a type of ibex. And this shows us that even in extreme climates like this, life continues to flourish. The entrance to Timna costs 59 shekel per adult. I'm going to put the value in dollars and in real on the screen according to today's exchange rate so you can get an idea. But along with the entrance, we receive these little bottles and sticks. And now we're going to go back to childhood and understand what they're for. What we have here are colored sands. Look here, for example, there is red-colored sand. But where did all these collective sands come from? They came from Timna Park itself, because the minerals that give the colors to the sand. So, for example, when the earth or sand has a lot of iron, the color red comes out. When there is a lot of copper, here we know there is a lot of copper, the color green comes out. So we have here a bunch of colored sands, and the little jars are here for us to use our creativity and take a souvenir. And of course, I also want to do it. So let's prepare one of the 3 pots together. Put these here. Let's see if I'm good at this. You can come closer to see. I'm going to use the funnel. Start with the red. What color are we going to use now? I'm going to use the green. It's here at the tip. Look how beautiful it's becoming. Let's put a little more green. And here on the side we have clay. Instead of using a cap, we put clay to close it. Just use your hand, folks. Just use your hand. Sealed, we have here our souvenir from Timna. But now we've already seen the colored sands. Let's move on. In Timna, you can find some of the oldest mines in the world. There's a total of over 10,000 mine shafts at this location. But the question is, how did the Egyptians know more than 3,000 years ago that there would be copper or other precious metals in the middle of a gigantic desert? Because they have clues. For example, if we come up here, we will see that the rocks are greenish. The moment copper comes into contact with oxygen, it begins to oxidize. And that's why the Egyptians traveling through the desert would see the exposed green stones and say, okay, we know that this is a copper extraction site, which was very important in the ancient world. So here we have a bit, and now we're going to the mines, inside the mines themselves. Look here, there are stones of different colors. There are stones that are white, like the whole desert, but there are stones that are greenish. This stone has a lot of copper in its composition, and that's exactly what people in the ancient world were looking for. So probably if we dig here, we will also find more copper. But in the last 30 years, the extraction of copper here was interrupted after literally thousands of years. But let's continue. Look here, we're walking in the desert, and now there's a gigantic stone. I was impressed with the small stone. Now look at this gigantic stone here with clearly large remains and signs of copper. How did they make the mines? They would see a place full of green marks, which means it's a place that has a lot of copper, and they would make a vertical well, and through it we're going to enter, folks. This here is literally thousands of years old. Wow, it's really a trip through history being here. We can see how the process was done. Even to this day, there's green here. They would take stone tools and remove part of the stones and take them to another place. These stones were crushed until they became sand, and this sand was placed in ovens. These ovens burned, folks, at 1,200 degrees Celsius. Imagine, they reached these temperatures already more than 3,000 years ago. And what happened is that with the heat, the copper and the stone separated, and the copper being heavier, it sank. And then they waited for this oven to cool down, and they took the copper from the bottom, and the earth and sand from the top were thrown away. And so they repeated this process. To produce a significant amount of copper, folks, kilos and kilos, tons per day of stones were taken here to be processed. So it really was an extremely hard work, but it was very much worth it, because in the ancient world, copper was extremely valuable. It was used both for jewelry and decoration, but mainly for utensils, and also often for war utensils. And whoever dominated the Timna mines also dominated a lot of wealth, and that's why this place was important for the Egyptians, then for the Midianites, and it was also important in the time of King Solomon, and we know about the grandeur and the treasures that King Solomon had. All of this, of course, because he was blessed by God. But in practice, where did the money come from? From various sources, also from taxes, but also here from the mines. These mines brought a lot of wealth to King Solomon, and for many who doubted that these mines really are, from the time of King Solomon, carbon-14 analyses were done here in 2002, which are scientific analyses that can date organic materials. So part of the materials that were found here were dated exactly to the period of King Solomon. So the mines changed hands and helped to enrich many people, among them Solomon. The work must not have been easy for the people who were here so long ago, but it's really amazing to be able to take this trip back in time. And look here, we can see the green line. So some of the last days that this mine was in operation, they were here with their stone tools, digging and excavating, and they had no idea that this would be the last day this mine would be in operation. And notice that there are some different holes here, like this hole. These holes are feet. Why? Because they had to climb, go in and out. So we see in several places this here that they used to support their feet to jump out and in. So notice that we will have a lot of this along our way. Well, I'm not going to climb my way out. I'll take advantage of the little ladder they put in. Hi, Dad. How are you? Hi. We are leaving the adventure. I
have news for everyone.
So come on, everyone. Let's hear the news up close. And for the people who watched until the end of the video, you will now find out about a big surprise. Tell them, Dad.
Let me also tell you about short-term future news, because today we had a wonderful lesson about the past, and I want to tell you the following. We are launching 2 groups, Israel with Jorge. So please, whoever wants to participate, whoever wants to know data, please, israelwithaline.com.br. There are the Israel with Jorge tours.
So folks, traveling online is beautiful, but being here in person, especially with Jorge, there's nothing like it. Today,
this visit to Solomon's time will be unforgettable, like so many other holy places in Israel.
So guys, a big kiss, Dad. Thank you very much for participating. A kiss to everyone, a kiss.
Bye until
the next